And now it's time for another edition of What Would Jello Do? Here we go again. What is causing all these mass shootings happening again? Well, number one, too many people have too easy access to guns. Even the National Rifle Association wants background checks, and they don't think people should be able to just run out and buy an assault rifle or bump stock or anything like that. That, in main part, is what's causing this and will continue to cause this. But this latest rash, the one that killed the Asian women at the massage places in Atlanta, and the 10 people who died at the very supermarket in Boulder where my mother gets her food, and I have been many times. And then there was another one in LA, I believe, and all the shooters, when they went into their background, even if they didn't say it, were showing signs of honest-to-God mental illness. In this case, schizophrenia. What exactly is schizophrenia? It's kind of hard because so many people get hit with it so many different ways. I mean, Wesley Willis described his well in his songs. It was what he called demons, who he named Nerve Wrecker and Heartbreaker, yelling at him inside his head, telling him to shoot himself or rob a bank, or that he was a bum, or he was going to go to jail or something like that, 24 hours a day, unless he was the center of attention or had his headphones on so loud that he forgot about them for a while. And another friend of mine, when he turned around 18, all of a sudden the schizophrenia hit, and he thought he was this really famous guy in his own Truman shows, and there were cameras he could see everywhere, complete with camera crews following him because he was famous. At one point, he started walking to the Vancouver airport in the middle of the night with an empty suitcase because he knew they needed him in Europe. Another person I knew earlier just calmly told me that sometimes he had conversations with demons in his bedroom and did seem to have some interesting clairvoyant stuff going on with him, but eventually it manifested itself into this virulent homophobia and a re-embrace of the Christianity that he had disavowed, and his own weird ideas like everybody should be put in an arranged marriage when they're 12 years old, and that would solve a lot of problems, and that it's his troubles with women and other things were because he was shown pornography when he was a teenager. And then another member of a band we briefly worked with called me up one day and said how he knew I was plotting against him with the CIA, and I was doing this and I was doing that. So I called another band member who explained to me that there was a crisis going on. He might have gone off his meds. And then the guy called me later and totally apologized, but also described what had been happening to him, where he got so bad he would just go down the stairs from his apartment on Haight Street or whatever and then just freeze. So terrified that there were CIA agents everywhere who were about to get him. Well, what do you know? The shooter in Atlanta was angry because pornography had ruined his life, even though he was a paying customer at least one of the massage parlors, apparently. The shooter in Boulder, do not judge him by his Syrian origins or his Mideastern name, or that he was bullied for being a Muslim at high school in Arvada, Colorado. But he also was telling his brothers and others that things were whizzing by his head, that nobody else could see, and that there were cameras following him and all. That sounds like that particular strain of schizophrenia to me. And then the one in LA talked about hearing voices. And then you rewind to a whole bunch of the earlier mass school shootings, where the one in Kentucky started by killing his dog, or that was Mississippi, the most beloved thing in the whole world to him, and then he started shooting up the school. Voices. JD from the Shack Shakers told me that the one who opened fire on the morning prayer circle in Paducah, Kentucky, also, it turned out, there were some voices. And the saddest of all was the one in Springfield, Oregon, just north of Eugene, where first he kills his parents, then he goes to the school and manages to kill one or two more, but not the bullies who were attacking him. But then at trial, he was reportedly at times hiding his head under the table, crying, begging the voices to stop. This is not somebody you want to put in a prison cell for the rest of his life or death row. This is somebody who needs serious psychiatric help from some kind of an institution who knows how to deal with the mentally ill. Well, what do we do then? How do we predict and do a better job of intercepting people? They become dangerous and may go out and kill a bunch of people or strangle their relative or something like that. How do you do that in advance? Well, for one thing, it might be good if it was harder for them to get a hold of goddamn guns. Oh yeah, even the National Rifle Association's membership wants stricter background checks, and they don't want people to be able to run out and buy a machine gun whenever they want. Funny, other countries have laws like that, and a lot less people get killed there for such stupid preventable reasons. What we don't want to do is go back to the dark days of the Bill Clinton administration, where he and a senator named Biden and this guy who was a guru behind it named John DiIulio were talking about there's all these kids from the crack epidemic. There's no hope for them. They're super predators. We should just lock them up now because they're super predators. And they're super predators in part because guess what color most of them are? And guess how much income their family has? Lock them up. Throw away the key. They're super predators. And some of them, thanks to those horrible mandatory sentencing and harsh drug laws that a senator named Biden was a big champion of, among others, they are still there to this day, when even Mr. DiIulio has totally reversed himself on that philosophy altogether. No, that is not the answer. Sorry, folks, but about the best way I can think of to help with this, remember the phrase, defund the police? Oh, you can't say that! Oh, we lost all these seats in Congress because somebody said defund the police, or worse yet, Medicare for all! No, it's because people like Nancy Pelosi and the old Clintonoids and Bidenoids were in charge of the campaign and kept trying to marginalize Bernie Sanders and AOC and all kinds of other progressives, and there's more of them now got elected anyway, and every single one who supported Medicare for all, according to AOC, got re-elected. No. Look back at the original concepts of defunding the police, which Camden, New Jersey actually did. Their cops were so corrupt and so out of control and so violent, they pulled the plug on them and replaced it with a different agency, and apparently it's working a lot better now. Duh. No, what people were saying with defund the police, instead they were talking about reducing this crazy police budget that was draining city coffers to bring in more military stuff they used to go after people in Iraq and whatnot, to go after our own people. Those are expensive. Even if they're donated, you got to maintain them, you got to train people, and not every small town needs a SWAT team. No. So, but what they were saying is, no, this money could be spent on more social service workers, more trained mental health professionals. The police officers are not trained to handle people having mental breakdowns, and they don't like having to do it. They get scared, they shoot. When stuff like the guy who was murdered in his grandmother's backyard in Sacramento, when he was having a mental episode, these things should not happen. So again, defund that part of the police, spend the money where it needs to be spent in the first place, and we might even be able to live in more peace with each other in the future, as much as the people who still follow Donald Trump would like us not to be allowed to.